So, hello everyone. Today we've got a special Christmas tip battle with some Tableau superstars. So, we are super happy that you are with us. Uh, Before this battle, before fight begin, uh, we also would like to share with you some thoughts, some inspiration, some consideration about the Tableau data farm because we had our person there. So Agata, if you could please share in few words your opinion, maybe some extra things from this conference.
Okay, so the event was, of course, lovely. It's always great to meet people from Data Farm, and you can feel the vibe, with meeting a lot of people who share common ideas and common interests. So, yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And if you will have any chance to join any Tableau data, especially Data Farm event in future, it's really worth it, and I guess you will get the best of it today, a bit of best of it today. So let's hope you will enjoy our today's meeting.
Super. Thanks, Agata. So let's fight begin. After all speeches, we encourage you to vote for the best tipper today. And yeah, so the first speaker today is Agata, our Tableau Fairy, co-leader of the Tableau user group and basically Tableau trainer. So yes, Agata, the floor is yours. You are on mute.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Please let me give me also chance to share my screen. Oh,
Okay.
thank you. That's great. Uh, okay, and that's it. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay, so let's try again. Great. I
Now
guess now it's better with probably too much people there, too many. Okay, so let's start with my tips. The first one, the very first one, will be about adding here some more space for the labels. I've got pretty nice chart, everything with it is fantastic, just the labels have not enough space. For doing that, I could add here hidden reference line, but the problem with it is that it would involve writing a lengthy calculations and I'm lazy. So what can I do? Well, I can go to my year peel, click on it and use extend date range option. Go to custom and extend it by, let's say, 5 years. I put here 5 and change it to year. And what will happen? Exactly nothing. So if nothing happens, I should do something more. What should I do? Well, the problem right now is that I have no future data. So I will copy my count distinct pill here. And one of these wrap in brackets. And I will add in front of that Zn function. Okay, what will it result with? With couple of zeros here. So now I go to the second peel, get rid of everything that I've got here, change its color to, or rather opacity, to nothing visible. Then I do my dual axis and I'm there. Great, I just get rid of the extra axis and I've got plenty of space for my labels. Now, two tips that will be very, very quick. One of them, I've got this absolutely awful table where there is a lot of data and I'm not really thinking about counting all of that. So I would like to have a couple of totals here. And I say again, I'm lazy. I do not like adding total by total. I want to have it quickly. So I go to analytics and double click totals. And it was almost instantly there. If the data set was slightly smaller than the TV series, probably it would be even quicker. Okay, another quick tip. I've got here a table. And just recently, I was running a webinar when I was encouraging people that if they have tables, they should do a couple of things to make them look nicer. One of the things that they could do with was coloring the headers of the tables. Okay, that's easy if the table is really a table, but the one here is not really a table, it's built with dual axes. What can I do to color the headers? I go now to formatting. So I right click on that, go to format, then go to coloring and to column bending. When I increase my size to 1, I will get coloring of my headers. And then I've got 2 tips which have a lot to do with the stage that every analyst is going through, the moment when you start to be allergic to each new bar chart. Okay, bar charts are good for everything, but at one moment of your life, you feel so fed up with them that once you do one more, you feel like no, not anymore. So 2 options to choose from to have something different than just bar chart. What can I do here? Well, the first option I will choose will be the round way, so rounded bar charts. How to do that? For that, I need just one tiny calculation, which I call tech, and tech in my case means 0.00, and I will use it over the session quite a lot. Okay, I take the pill and drag it to my axis to get dual axis. Ta-da, I've got it, but I'm not yet there. So I change my chart type to line. Once I've done that, I move my measure names from rows to path. And I'm almost there. I just need to make the lines bigger, and voila, I've got my bar chart. And now I want to color that. So I will drag my count distinct series title to color. And that's it, but the colors are slightly boring. So I will go for some better color palette. The problem is only that in my case, color palettes are never-ending story. So what can I do to just quickly choose the one I would like to have? And by the way, I want stepped color and 5 colors. So I want the color palette to be plasma. So I just write quickly PL and, okay, again, PL, and it's plasma. Apply, okay. So that's the first option for quick changes with bar charts. There is the other one, which was suggested not so long ago by Sarah Palette, and she calls it L-shaped bar chart. And it's quite similar in the technique you get the results. So I take my tech again and go again for the dual axis. But instead of dragging my measure names and I need to change it to line. And instead of dragging my measure names to path, I will go to path and change it to step line. Once I've got the step line, I will hide both title genre, show header, and my measure names, show header. And now I will go for doing a little bit with labels. So I press Control, add these to add my title genre to label, also count distinct to label. I get rid of the axis to have some more space to show something. I go to my label, and now a little bit of working with that. So I need here to have title, genre, count distinct. I want to have that left aligned, couple of spaces in front. Great. apply. Now I want to, okay, I want to go here also and make it match mark color, which I will use in a moment. Now I will go to alignment and now right align it. Great, looks good. Now I just need a little bit of coloring. So again, my count distinct series to color. And I go for plasma again. So edit color, just when it's marked, I can write PL and get my plasma color palette. Again, stepped color, 5 steps, apply. Okay, I've got it. And little bit of formatting just quickly to get rid of these lines I've got here. Probably row divider and column divider would be nice to get rid of that as well. Great, I've got it. And now I want to say that comedies are what we love, and I want to underline the comedy color. So I want the color of comedy to have included in my title. Great, I click on title. I go for the comedies color. More colors, pick color from the screen, lovely. Okay, I do apply and it's hardly visible. Why it's hardly visible? Because that's so light color. What can I do? I click on my color, go to more colors and drag the arrow slightly down. I click OK, I do apply, and now you can read it easily. And well, 9 out of 10 times the darker color will be hardly distinguishable from what you have in your chart. Okay, and now one last before I give voice to the next person. Let's look at the chart. What do I have here? Well, I've got this question mark. What's the question mark? Let's check that in my data pane. Nothing. There's no such appeal. So what can be inside of that? I double click, maybe that's ad hoc calculation, and well, the inside is not really very helpful. And believe me, I have learned about that in the hard way from the presentation, from the report prepared by the competitive consultancy. So what's in there and how to find what is there? You need to use arrows and go down. And believe me, that's not the best practice. So what can you do instead? You can do that instead of normal comment with block comment. So I put here my asterisk, put what should be my title, and the title should be question mark, then put another asterisk, another slash, and then when I go, I still have my question mark, but the inside of that is way easier to recognize what's there inside. But then still, if you want to be really mean to somebody and show peel that will be a real mystery, then you can go for something like that. What's that? I go inside. That's pretty similar, just there is some empty space in between my asterisks. So what can that be? Is that a space? Let's check. Okay, it's not. When I put space there, it didn't work. So what's that? That's actually a trick that I have kind of learned from one of the blog posts of Kevin Flerlage. One when he mentioned something called character 2800. To make you know what's that and to see, I will now quickly go to internet and try to search for that. One moment, that's probably here, and that's character 2800. I have just Googled that. If I get here and copy the character, the Unicode character that I've got here, and put it into my calculation, the one here, inside instead of space, then it will work just perfectly. Yeah, I've got an empty peel, which ends up with also empty header, which is sometimes very, very useful. And the character 2800 really works when you cannot do something with space, then the one works perfectly. And you can even go for something like that and then count that. And that's my first part. Thank you.
Thank you, Agata. That was basically first part of magic tricks prepared by our Tableau fairy, Agata. So thank you for that. But Agata also will speak at the end. Okay, right now I want to present Heidi Kalbe. She's an expert and basically Tableau ambassador. I think one of the most famous in the Tableau industry. So, yeah, please, Heidi, it's time for you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you say most famous, I'm maybe in the like top 500 probably uh, in Germany. All right, thank you so much. Yes, hi everyone, I'm Heidi. You all know Agata and Pavel and Veronika, so let me introduce myself. Just a tiny bit, Pavel already mentioned I'm a Tableau ambassador. I'm in my 5th year now. I co-lead Data+Women Germany, which is in English and open to everyone, not just women. So feel free to listen in our virtual events. I also have an in-person Tableau user group in Rhineland here in Germany. So if you're ever in the Cologne, Düsseldorf area, do swing by. And feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Just pop me a message. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. All right, so let's see if I can top what Agata showed you. Agata mentioned a couple of things about color, so I want to talk about color as well. If I can just exit this one. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I build a lot of dashboards for customers, for clients, and they often want me to use their corporate colors, which is fine. I love doing that, playing around with corporate colors. But then their corporate color is something like this super bright purple. And maybe I don't want to make the whole dashboard purple. So what can I do to kind of limit the amount of color that we're using? Well, I actually like using white colors. So I like using completely white bar charts because then you can just use a frame in the corporate color that the client wants you to use. And there you have a corporate color dashboard with a very limited amount of color. Of course, you can go ahead and color the labels as well. And if you want to show the beginning of the bars as well, you can simply go to format, format the borders and get rid of the column dividers. And then you have the beginning of the bars as well. Now you can much more easily highlight what you're selecting. So for example, if you're using set actions, you can always use the set, put that on color, and again, use the corporate color here to really make it pop what is currently being selected. Fun fact, if you want to select something, you can, of course, add in a set action. So let's say I go to worksheet, create an action, and want to make this, there we go, want to make this a set action. Didn't practice this beforehand, so let's just hope it works. If I select something in this worksheet, I want to affect my season and episode set, assign the values, and then keep the set values when I deselect. So if I now select season and episode 1.3, then you can see that this gets assigned to the set. The thing is, this is now highlighted, so I first need to deselect again to see everything. And I don't want that. I hate that everything gets highlighted. It's really finicky. And that's one click I don't want to have to make. So what can we do? Maybe you've seen this magic trick before, maybe you haven't. I've created 2 calculations called true and false. True contains true and false contains false, which I'm not going to show because it's just double the effort. So I want to drag true to detail and drag false to detail as well. So as you can see, nothing happens, but we can add in another worksheet action. And this time we want to make it a filter action. So right click, filter action. When selecting, no, not the whole data source, just this sheet 0A. If I select anything here, I want to affect this exact same sheet, show all values, and we want to use selected fields, filtering from true to false. And this is where the magic happens. I can't really explain it, but I think the trick here is that neither of those contain the same value at any time. So you can never really filter. But the fun thing is if you now click on something, you can see that Tableau deselects itself. Didn't do anything, just click something and you can see it gets selected, but deselected in the same breath as well. And as Agata mentioned earlier, if the data set was smaller, this would work a lot more smoothly. All right, let's chat a bit more about colors. So this is a very nice color here because it's very muted. It doesn't have like a big bright effect. But the thing is, I would really like to label my labels or color my labels in the same color as the mark. So if I say match mark color, I have the same issue as Agata had earlier in that I can't really read it. Like a light gray background with a light blue label, that doesn't really work. So what we can do instead is we can change the color to a darker blue, but to return to the customer's corporate light blue color, we can make it very transparent. And you can see that the bars get lighter, but the labels don't. And that is how you can label with a dark label color, but color the bars in a lighter color, and it still matches. Okay. Let's talk a bit about dashboarding. One of my favorite topics. In the DataViz community, there are two teams. You have team floating, and then you have the correct team tiled. Hi, everyone. But team tiled obviously also wants to float some things occasionally. I will confess to that. For example, here I have a floating text box that is really helpful to me because it tells me what to do. So I actually have a chance of winning against Agata here. So this is some hints for me as a developer. I want to see them. I want my colleagues who also help develop this dashboard to see them, but I don't want it visible for the end consumers. So I would really like to drag this off the dashboard. But if I do that, Tableau says, oh, you want it off the dashboard? Let me delete that for you. And that's not what I want. So what can I do instead? I can drag one corner of the dashboard and then drag the other corner of the dashboard. And now I have this invisible text box that I can see, but my end consumers can't. And it's telling me what to do. So first off, I want to drag some sheets into my dashboard. And Tableau is very nice in that it adds all the filters and legends and parameters here. But maybe I don't want them in a vertical container. I want them in a horizontal container instead. So what can I do? I can bring in a horizontal container. And now it's just 3 objects, but I don't want to drag them over one by one to have them next to each other. So what I can do instead is I select any object, double click to grab the whole container, drag it into the horizontal container. So you can see it's still vertical. But if I now vanish this container, so just remove container, it's all in the horizontal container next to each other. And of course, I can make this floating as well, but I don't want to go to the right click, make floating. I just drag it and then press my shift key. So it turns to floating instead. And I can do the same thing as earlier. Drag one corner off, drag the other corner off, and now I have it off the dashboard for now. This is great because now I can add in my other sheets as well. And the fun thing is any objects they bring, so again, filters, color legends, parameters, they all get added to that container outside of the dashboard as well. So I can first arrange all of my sheets and then slowly bring in the things that I actually want to see. For example, this filter here. I don't actually need the second sheet, so let's get rid of that one for a moment. And let's make this filter a drop-down filter. So I am looking at the Data+ movies or the Data+ TV dataset, I think. And you can see that I'm currently filtering on Bridgerton because I think Bridgerton is a nice little series, but I don't like to pre-filter my dashboards when I publish them. So I would like to just show all of the values instead. Now, the thing is, this is a pretty big data set. And if I let this compute for a while, you can see that there's now 32,000 marks in this dashboard, which is not very performant. So I want to make this faster. And the easiest way to do that is just not show anything. The thing is, if I filter out everything, so I select none, then my users will open up this dashboard, say, oh, it's empty, Heidi, Tableau is broken, why can't we use Power BI instead? And that's not a discussion I want to be having. So what can we do? We give them an information that they need to select something first. So let's bring in a floating container. Let's make this maybe, let's give it a border because we like this bright purple. So we can see this is the border, that's the container. We add in some text, make this really big. Please select a series, then you can see your data. All right, so we have this info box. They will read it and say, yeah, of course, I need to select some series, and then I can see data. Fantastic. The thing is, the info box is still here. So we can give this a show hide button so that they are able to just click and say, yep, I understood this. But the thing is, the show button is still here. And that's a bit annoying, isn't it? Because it's just floating around and getting in the way of my data. And I don't want that. So what can we do? Well, we make this container visible again. We take the hide button, drag it into the container that it will hide. And if you click it now, the info button hides itself and you can never get it back. So this is perfect for a one-time only info button. The thing is, you just need to remember to undo that last step before publishing, because otherwise you can never get that button back. So be very careful when developing this. Cool. Some more formatting, because Agata talked a lot about colors, so I want to talk about colors as well. I love colors. All right, so if you are coming from a more, let's say, table-based tool and you are going into Tableau, you may want to have your tables back, which is fine, I guess. So let's talk a bit about formatting tables a bit more. I have my IMDb title rating in here, and I also want to show my comparison to the season average. So I bring this one in here, switch these two around. So I first have the average rating and then the comparison to the season average. Now for this comparison to the season average, I don't actually want to show the total by season because that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we can right click, go to total using and hide this total. So we can have total for one measure and no total for the other measure. Perfect. Now I actually want to, what do we do first? I want to format these. I want to make it really obvious that I'm showing a comparison here. So I'm either above the total or I'm below it. So we can right click and go to default properties and change the number format. Now, what I like to do is I like to go to custom, so we can have a plus 0.0, and then after a semicolon, we have the negative values minus 0.0. And this is fine, but I want to make it really obvious. Not just plus minus, I want to use some special characters. And you can do that by just inserting some UTF-8 characters or Unicode characters, as Agata showed earlier with character 2800. So here I'm using upward triangle and downward triangle, and if I press OK, you can see that positive values now have the upward triangle plus, and negative values have downward triangle minus. Now the thing is, 0 values also get assigned a positive connotation. But honestly, looking at 0.0, that's not a upward triangle plus worthy number, is it? So what can we do? We can right-click default properties and edit the number format again. So again, everything in the front is positive values. Then we have negative values. And if we add in another semicolon, you get 0 values. And of course, I could add in plus minus 0 here. Sure, but that's a bit boring, isn't it? This is actually on par with the season average. So we can just type in on par or whatever text you want. So if I press OK, you can see that I have some text in here to say this is a 0 value without writing a single calculation. Now I actually want to color this because we talked a lot about color. So let's bring in some color. I actually want to color by the comparison to the season total. So if I drag this to color, you can see that all the numbers are colored this way, which is not what I want. So let's undo that step. And let's think about it. I want different colors depending on the value. So the value is contained in measure values. So I control drag measure values to color. And then I get one color legend for everything, which is also not really what I want, but we can right click and use separate legends instead. So I have one for the actual rating and one for the comparison to the season average. Should have made this a shorter measure name. Anyway, I don't actually want to color the title rating. I just want the comparison value colored, but I can't not color that one. Or can I? Well, you can always double click and change this to a diverging color legend. Make one end of the color legend black, make the other end of the color legend black, and then use a stepped color using just 2 steps. So incidentally, everything happens to be black and kind of colorless. Now you just need to remember to include the totals, and there you have it. One measure is colored and the other one is not. Of course, if you don't want to color the text, if you want to color the background instead, you can change the marks type to a square. And then you probably don't want a black background. So what can you do? Double click again, be sure to make one end white and make the other end incidentally also white. And now again, you have custom formatting in a table in Tableau. In the Data community, there is some controversy around whether or not we are allowed to truncate axes. Now, one thing you can remember is if you're using bar charts, please never, ever truncate your axes, because that will confuse the heck out of consumers. But what if we are using a line chart instead? Well, I don't really want to make that decision for my consumers, so I want them to be able to choose for themselves. Do I want to zoom in or do I want to show the full axis? So let's do exactly that. I want to create a parameter. I like to call this one zoom axis question mark. There's a typo, so let's get rid of that one. Make it a Boolean value and assign aliases. So if true, then we call this yes, zoom in, and false, it's no, show axis in full. We can confirm and close with OK, right click and show the parameter, and then make sure to use a single value list so you can actually see the option we are choosing. Now I want to create a calculated field, call this one the 0 line. And let's say if I want to zoom the axis, so it's true, then I want the value null, else I want the value 0 end. And this is at the same time the most boring and the most confusing calculation ever, maybe, but bear with me for a second. We take this new field and drag it to detail, and then we can right click on our vertical axis and add a reference line using the value 0 line. There we go. I don't actually want a computation, but I want to make this really purple and bold and bright here. And as you can see, you can't see any 0 line. And that is because we are currently zooming in, not quite yet. So we're not seeing a 0 line. But if I say no, show axis in full, then the 0 line actually gets shown at the very bottom here. So what do we do now? We right click and edit the axis. And we do want to leave the range on automatic because our values change over time. So it should be dynamic. But I don't actually want to include 0. So we untick that little box. As you can see, it still includes 0 because we have the 0 line at the bottom. But if the 0 line vanishes because someone says, yes, zoom in, then Tableau automatically adapts and we are zoomed into the axis. So all you need to do now is show axis in full again, right click and edit your axis, make sure that you are not using any line. And now you can beautifully allow your end users to either show the axis in full or zoom in as they want. You can do essentially the same thing with synchronization as well. So let's say you have a dual axis here, right click, make this a dual axis, and you don't want to decide whether to synchronize or not. I created a parameter saying, do you want to synchronize the axis, yes or no? And then we create a calculated field called synchronize. We can edit this one, and you can see that I'm using the max function here. So it's taking the higher value of either the average rating or the sum of the number of ratings. So it doesn't really make sense in this case, but bear with me anyway. We just drag this to detail, right click on the axis, add a reference line using the synchronize field, take the maximum value actually, and then you can see it's the same thing. Now we're currently synchronized, but if we want to leave independent, then they are left independent. Same issue here. How much time do I actually have left? Because I will just keep on talking if you don't stop me. Any idea?
You are good. 10 more minutes, yeah.
Okay, then I can show you another couple tips. Okay, so here we are looking at episode ratings of Taskmaster UK. If you haven't watched it, I absolutely recommend it. Also great for learning English and seeing a very fun series at the same time. So my personal favorite season is season number 4. Let me highlight this one. And I can see that the episodes of season 4 are in ranks 3, 7, 12, 12, 25, 25, etc. But the thing is, if I now filter on season 4, those get recalculated. But episode 4.8 is not actually like the best episode ever, just within the season. Now, why does this happen? That's because of the order of operations. If you've never looked at the order of operations before, it's actually quite intuitive. So this explains how Tableau thinks, essentially. So first off, we have extract filters. Extract is a snapshot of your data. So if you take a snapshot and you filter that, it's not physically in there if you filtered it out. So that's why that one is the topmost filter, the one that gets calculated first. Next, you have data source filters. So that's what Tableau writes at the very top of the query that gets sent to the data source. So if we tell the data source to not return certain data, we won't have it in Tableau. We'll skip context filters for this specific use case, but dimension filters filter on the record level. So for every individual row in our data set, Tableau decides whether to include or exclude this one. Based on the row selection that gets left, we aggregate our measures. So measure filters are next. And then if we put an aggregation on top of the aggregation, that's a table calculation. So that's why table calculation filters come last. Now, ranking is a table calculation. So if I add in a dimension filter, it will, of course, affect my rank. So if I don't want that to happen, I need to use a table calculation filter. So how can we do that? First off, let's actually delete this filter here first. And I want to add in a new calculated field. We want to call this filter season. Now, I want to use a calculation called lookup. Lookup, if you look at the documentation, returns the value of the given expression in a target row. Cool. So essentially, it just gets us an expression. So I want to look up the season number, and I want to offset that by a number of rows, and that number of rows is 0 because I just want to look at the season number of my episode I'm interested in. Now, Tableau will complain because it's a table calculation, so of course you need to aggregate everything in here. So we can aggregate the season number and just take the minimum because every episode just has exactly one season, so this will work fine. And if we right-click and convert this to a discrete value, we can drag this to filter. And if I filter on season number 4, you can see that it only returns those ranks as they are across all of the different seasons. Now, let's talk a bit more about ranking. That's the same one, actually. Let's talk a bit more about ranking. So here I'm looking at the different seasons. So every column is a season, and then every row is an episode. And you can see that some episodes perform better than others within each season. And I want to be able to sort this. Now, the thing is, if I just sort and want to look at the best episodes first, you can see that it ranks them across all of the different seasons. So season 10 may be the best episode in some later seasons, but the earliest didn't even have 10 episodes. So it doesn't make sense to show that one first. So what I want to do is I want the individual rank of every episode within each season. So how can I do that? Well, first off, I control drag my measure to label, and I can right click and add a table calculation here. The table calculation I want is rank. So let's use that one. Let's make it a unique rank. So because some of them have the exact same rating and we still want them separate. And I want to calculate that across the episode numbers. So there we go. We can right click and make this discrete actually. And if I drag out episode number, I still have it on color, and bring in the label I just created, you can now see that I have my episodes in the exact rank I want them per season. So I just need to right click and get rid of that header. And now I have my season ranking across the episodes in every season. Okay, one last tip, and let's see if I can do that properly. So again, Taskmaster UK, one of my favorite series, absolutely recommend. And I have a lot of information I want to show in here. The thing is, this dashboard is far too small to show 5 different sheets in here, especially if they are so information dense as these ones. So wouldn't it be great if I had the option to kind of show 2 sheets at the same time and then be able to paginate through here, right? So how can we actually do that? Well, I need a couple things. I need a parameter, a lower button, a higher button, dynamic zone visibility, and a whole bunch of actions, but we can do it. So let me show you how. let's start with the higher button just as an example. So the higher button essentially is just a sheet that contains a shape. I did create a parameter called, what did we call it, page, and this just contains the values 1 through 4. You can go as high as you want, just be aware it takes a bit more effort if you want to show 25 different pages. But we want to use pages 1 through 4. And then I also have a calculation that says, am I at the topmost value? So that the shape actually changes if I'm at the topmost value, just for some user experience. I also want to affect the parameter later, so I have this parameter plus calculation here. So if I'm at the topmost value, just take that one. If I'm lower, then add 1 to whatever the value is. And I also have the true and false calculations. You already know the magic here. So everything is in the sheet. So let's go back to the dashboard. I did the exact same thing, just opposite for the lower button as well. So in here, I want to add a dashboard action. It's under dashboard actions, so quite intuitive. And we want to change the parameter. So if I click on the, God, that's a lot of buttons. If I click on the higher button, select, and then I want to affect the pages parameter using pagination plus because I want to increase the value. And we want to keep the current value. So we press OK. Press OK again, and you can see if I press this button, then the parameter value changes. The thing is, I first have to deselect the button again before I can press it again. So that's a bit annoying. So you already know what to do, but I'll show it again. Go to Dashboard, Actions, and create a filter action this time to auto deselect. So filter action, when I press the higher button, using select, I want to affect the higher sheet. And that's very important when you use this trick in a dashboard. You don't want to affect the dashboard item, you want to affect the sheet. In this case, it's called higher, so very high at the bottom. And you want to show all values when clearing the selection. Again, use selected fields going from true to false. You know the magic here. And if I press OK now, I can press this button again, and you can see that it goes higher. So all I need to do now is I need to add in some interactivity. So I didn't actually show that earlier, so let's take a look at that. Because we will be using dynamic zone visibility, I have calculated for every single item when that should be visible. So for example, item E should only be visible for page 4. Item B should be visible for pages 1 and 2, etc. So back in the dashboard, I select those items. In my case, it's a whole container. Go to Layout, Control Visibility using Value, and change that to this calculation E. So it's still visible, but item B, which is only visible for pages 1 and 2, if I control visibility using item B, then you can see that one vanishes. So in the end, you will have something like this, where you can just paginate through the dashboard, looking at selected items, going lower and higher as you wish. And those are my tips. So Tore, feel free to try and beat that one.
Thank you, Heidi, for such insightful tips. And now it's the time for our Tableau Jedi. So another Tableau superstar, Tore Levinsen. Yeah, so the virtual microphone is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sitting here in my Christmas hat and sweating my ass off because it's really warm. So better be quick doing this then, I guess. See if I survive. Hello, Tore from Norway. I'm also running some user groups. I'm only 4-time ambassador and not 5 as Heidi. I run the Norway Tableau user group, which is hybrid. So please sign up and join us for next year. I'm also co-leading the Data+Maps Tableau user group, which is virtual. We have 4. Well, we only had 2 so far this year, but we just started. So hopefully, if you're interested in anything spatial, anything to do with maps, join us for hopefully our amazing sessions for 2025. So what I'm going to be talking about or using, I do a lot of these tiny Tableau tip on X and now also on Blue Sky, because that's apparently where everybody's moving away from X to Blue Sky these days. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks, starting with this Data plus TV starter dashboard. And one of the things that I realized that I'm not sure if it was announced. Me and Agata have some issues with Tableau building stuff and never presenting and saying that they actually have added this type of feature, which is interesting. But if you have like in this particular dashboard, if I open up this this view, there are some parameters, and if I now would like to format these parameters back in the day or up till 2024 dot something, you go in here and you said format, but now you don't only say format this parameter, you can say all parameters. Obviously, I was hoping that now I could format all my parameters in my entire workbook. It's not that good, but it's so good in the sense that now if I just exaggerate a bit in here, you see that at least I'm modifying all my parameters or sets or filters inside of that same workbook that we have open. So also something you don't have to go to the XML and hack it to fix and change. So that's a bit of a lifesaver. That's what I like about all of these tiny Tableau tips that I talk about. Kind of a bit of a side note as well, so that before we've seen some beautiful, nice little visualizations. If you're a bit new to Tableau, maybe you use Show Me and then you decide, well, now I can build whatever based on the data that I do have in here. But like the rounded bars or the L-shaped and a lot of the nice ones, those are not in here. So I just wanted to show one particular visualization that I sometimes use. So if I put in, for example, looking at the countries, I put that on text, for example. So these are all the countries that have any series in this data set. I change this from automatic to text. And then if I would like to see which one has the most number of titles versus the other ones, I'll drag any measure into size, and we have a word cloud, basically. Obviously unknown, let's get rid of that one for now. And then we see that United States is apparently the biggest one with number of titles, and so on. This is not a visualization, though, when we talk about best practice that you should use to find the actual the biggest, the smallest, because like United Kingdom, Great Britain, it looks like it takes up a lot of space because it has a lot of letters in it. So maybe it's not even bigger than Mexico in here, but the eye can be deceived. But this is one of the quickest way of creating a visualization that's not part of Show Me. So I just wanted to put that in there, since everybody else was creating visualizations. When we're looking at the dashboards, right? So we saw that Heidi also did this. If you double click on this handlebar, you can then select the matching container. If you double click again, you get the next level of the container. You can do that all the way till the top, basically. So either if you team tiled, or like most people, it looks like, or if you're team floating. You can also go to this layout menu next to dashboard and add borders and stuff. You have this nice little hierarchy. But what you can't do in here, which is really frustrating, right? If you tried this, if you open up this, now we see this container. There's a new container over here. And maybe I would like to move this container down to the last level in here. You can't just drag and drop. You can, of course, go over here, do this, and try to hit that sweet spot. But how many times haven't you start swearing or being annoyed having to click Control Z because it doesn't end up exactly where you go? So there's a couple of tips in here. One is to actually go crazy and go floating. So you can hold in the shift key and this way, and then sometimes it's easier to move stuff around when they're floating, like Heidi showed. But even better, if you are on a server, or at least on the cloud or Tableau public, you go to layout, still have the same hierarchy. As you can see, we're looking at the same thing in here. But in here, if I now hold in my mouse button on the horizontal container, I can move it around just whatever I like, up and down, inside of other containers. I can take even sheets and move them inside of other containers like this. So you have way more control, way less cursing and control set when you go to the server. Another thing that, I'm just going to undo this back here. Another thing that I like to do in here as well, this works both on desktop on server though, but when you have all these, why should you have horizontal, horizontal, horizontal container? Right click and rename them. Rename them properly if you have multiple levels that you can put them in. So you have like this vertical container could be my vises to the left, so that you know what's inside of your containers and you don't have 200 vertical and horizontal containers like this. So this can save you a lot of frustration as well. Another thing that I do a bit when I'm on dashboard, on dashboards, I'm just going to make this entire automatic so it fills the screen for now. And that is, if you would like to make everything pixel perfect, right? You can press the G button. And if you press the G button, let's see if it works. You see that in the background now. Hopefully you can see that I have a grid. There's no grid. There's a grid. No grid. There's a grid. So if you press the G button, you get a grid in the background, and you can also go to dashboard and go to grid options and decide what size should the grid be, and then you can create that pixel perfect dashboard when you move stuff around as well. Another thing that this works on both places, right? So if I go back to my Tableau workbook, this looks really nice in here. Maybe I'm going to add in a text box. I'm going to go to dashboard. I'm going to go down here and put in a text box, which is somewhere around here. There you go. I'm going to put this, and now it's going to be floating. It's going to put it in here. If I now put in a URL, just randomly put in a URL in here with my LinkedIn profile, why not? I say, okay, it looks nice, but it's not, it's popping up like this as a URL because it automatically creates this. But if I would like to make this nicer or smaller or edit the text, so it should basically say like this, click on Tore, and then Tore should be this link. This doesn't work on desktop. So another thing that actually is better in this web edit, if I drag this one in, I'll put in my nice little URL again, just make it a bit larger so you can see it. And then we have something over here that we don't have on desktop, this little URL bit. So I can click on this, and the link obviously should be this, but the text could be just my name, so that now it is way nicer because my name is so nice. I click on it and it opens up on the internet like this. So that's another thing that you can use to make a shorter text on there. I love shortcuts. I know that Agata also loves shortcuts or keyboard shortcuts. I use them all the time. And there's someone that you have that are different on desktop and server. One that is the same and one that I use quite a lot is the Control+M, which is the a new sheet on desktop. That doesn't work over here. That's actually a bit annoying, but that's something when you're building something, and I would like to build something close to this dashboard. I don't want to scroll all the way to the right, because if you just say a new worksheet like this, it ends up all the way on the right hand side, right? And you can start dragging it all the way to the left because you would like to be close to the original dashboard where you do something. So when you're in here, you can do Control+M and you get a new worksheet just next to it. Or obviously, if you have ever seen these icons down here on the right hand side, they are just there. Do you know them? If you don't, if you hover over, you'll see that you can show either the original one, which are the tabs. You can show a film strip, so a preview of all your dashboards and sheet, Or you can look at the sheet sorter. So you have all your dashboards and sheets and stories in one view. And if you then have the sheet 11, you can drag it all the way over here. You can double click on it, and then you're back to this place. But let's go back and show you some shortcuts on server that you don't have on desktop. So you could do the control. Let's see if I can find it. Control or Alt plus T. And that is if you are, this is the way more clicking than just the Control M, right? We have to have 3. Why didn't they just do Control M? I don't know, but talk to somebody in Tableau about it. If you have a data source you would like to rename it, you can do Alt plus F2. If I manage to click on it like this. No, sorry, that was the wrong button. So that obviously didn't work. Then you rename your data source over there. So instead of right clicking, so maybe you don't save too much time. I don't know. If you have changed it, you would like to save it, you could do Control S. If you do Control S, it's publishing as it is, like this. Now it's publishing. This is on Tableau Public, so I'm not sure if I'm going to break anything. It's just on my page anyways. And this is apparently taking forever because we're on Tableau Public. So while we do this, let's do a joke, or should we just go back to yeah, I think we'll go back to this one while we're waiting for this because it was a bit slow. Sorry about that. I know that we'll get back to the other shortcuts in a short time. I want to talk about maps, obviously, because I co-host this Data+Maps. This is a beautiful dashboard that are done on Tableau Public, where we're looking at which countries speak the most languages. Really nice, right? We have these bubbles and we have the lines down here that also goes down to the map. Now I was trying to scroll down here. Sorry, it just needs to reload. Trying to scroll down, but now I'm zooming in and out, and now the lines don't match anymore. So there's no point for us be able to do all these zooming in and out in this particular dashboard, or maybe in a lot of other dashboards. You can, of course, always go over here to this one and reset the map, and it's okay. But if I go to this map of the world or countries of the world, you can go to map options, and then you have multiple things we can do in here. I can take away, allow, pan, and zoom. So basically you can't zoom in and out, won't mess up your beautiful visualization. If you don't want them to do all these search for a city or a country or have anything to do in the map at all, just look at it because it's beautiful as it is. You can turn these on and off like this as well. So I'll zoom out again. So that's a nice way. Talking about maps, we're coming up to the holiday season, and you're probably going to be maybe with your family or some friends. And if you would like to do, because that's the only use case I found for this, I think. But if you have a map like this, we have country, we have latitude, longitude in here. If I get rid of my latitude and longitude and increase the size a bit, I'm going to do entire view. I now have all my countries in the world as a shape. You can do that for cities, for states, for whatever. And then you can have a quiz. Which country is this? Which is this country? Obviously, you should take away the tooltip then, because everybody sees it. Also, there's some really strange countries over here, right? But that's because they are not recognized as a country, or they don't exist anymore, like Czechoslovakia. So that's just a circle in here. So that's a nice little trick with the maps in there. If I go back again to the map, the real map like this, and if you want to do like I often do, I would like to look at only my own country because I love my own country. So I'm going to zoom in for Norway like this. Well, that's actually a neat trick. If you're Norwegian and you want to save some time every time you're going to find Norway, you can put N, but then you have to scroll through all the other N countries. So just do O, because Oman is always after Norway, so you save some time. So for that one person I saw that was signed in from Norway here, if you didn't know that, this is a trick for you. So I'm going to look at Norway. And now I have Norway as a field map. We have those damn Swedes and Finns in here that I would like to get rid of because I don't have any data there, right? So why should I see the other countries in here? So it's a nice little trick. Go to the map menu again, background layers, and then just wash out the Swedes, the Finns, they're all gone, and we can only look at Norway, and it's so beautiful. If I also now add in a quick data source here, the sample EU Superstore. This is one of the brilliant thing about the map layers in Tableau. I don't have to connect my data plus TV dataset with my sample EU Superstore. Not that they relate in any way either, but I can now go to location, drag in my cities as a new layer. And guess where Tableau is from? Well, it's from the States. So it puts all the cities that actually exist both in, well, Gothenburg in Sweden, San Fernando, Oslo in Norway. They actually exist in the US as well. That's because Tableau thinks that my location is in the US. I could switch this to Norway, obviously, but I also have other countries in here, or other cities. So this is because Tableau doesn't know where the city belongs to by default. But I do have my country regions. I just put it on detail, and I see that all my cities ends up in Europe. And then on the cities, I'm also gonna filter for Norway, so that I don't see the cities that are not inside of Norway like this. And I have some circles. I might even want to put in some sales in here. So I have some smaller, bigger circles like this. Just going to add in a border so we see them a bit more clear. But you see that when I hover over, I'm going to find Oslo or Bergen where I live. See that Norway is flashing, which is cool. I mean, it's Christmas time anyways. I see people have these Christmas lights that are flashing outside. Really don't like them. I like them clean, one color, don't flash. But that's just me. So if I would like to get rid of these flashy Norway in the background, this is once again the beauty of these different layers. I can go to my country layer and disable my selection. So when I hover over Norway, it's not flashy, but it's flashing or showing me those different cities as well. So this is a nice little trick when it comes to maps. So let's go back to the my dashboard over here on Tableau Public. It was saved with the Control S. If I do Control Shift plus S, it will publish as, so you can give it a different name. If you do Alt and Q, meaning that you are quitting or closing it. So if you have done a change, you are being asked, do you want to save it? If you don't, haven't done a change like I did, it just quits the dashboard over here. Another thing that's beneficial in our beautiful web edit window is that if you are inside of a browser, which I obviously am since I'm at Tableau Public in here, and I go back to my dashboard, and maybe I add another text in here in between these two. Hello, I'm doing good, right? Really good at spell checking, right? This is how we write English in Norway. See, there's a lot of underline in here. So you could right click and do spell checking in Tableau in desktop, on server. That has worked now since 2024.2. Really good, right? So it's helping. It will still, I didn't change the last one in here. But if I go to my desktop, that doesn't work yet. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy my dashboard item from Tableau Public, go back to my dashboard over here, which is the same. Now I can do Control V. So I'm just not saving, but pasting in my dashboard object. Difficult to say, right? So this is now coming from the Tableau Public. I'm going to put it in here and do the Heidi trick, holding the Shift key, turn it back to tile because we are team tile, right? If I double click on this, it's still some spelling mistakes in here, at least this one, because this is a Norwegian letter in there. Maybe I'm going to add in a like this as well. But there's no spell check, right, on desktop. So this is by popular demand. I've shown this before, but I still love to show it. So if you do have Grammarly, or you download and can install Grammarly on your laptop, which is free, you can sign up, have a user. I'm going to close this. Grammarly is up and running. So let's see, it has to think a bit because it's, it's on a computer, but now already it says there is one spelling mistake in here. If I click on it, or the suggestion, and accept that it should be good, it doesn't do the change. Same as it wouldn't have done that on the browser, because you have to open up any dialog box that you have, like a text box, a title, a caption, a calculated field. As long as these are open, and I click on it, I say good. It still loves my in there, so I have to manually do that, apparently. I don't know why. Say OK, and you have spell check also on desktop. So I think that on my list, I've done everything more or less that I was planning to do. And that means we are switching over to Agata to blow us away with the last 10 minutes of amazing tips and tricks, I hope. I hope there was some new tips and tricks there. So that Per Erik knew about the Oman trick already. So the Norwegian knew about this.
Thank you, Tore, for your tricks. And Agata, could you please
Thank you a
continue?
lot. My goodness, so much pressure. So good, so many good tips so far. Let me just share my screen and let's hope I will manage. So, just a few next. That's the one we have finished with, and that the previous one was about the mysterious pills, the pills that, well, look somehow strange, and well, one of the part of the tricks was that I used the character 2800. So I will just copy the initial part with the null comment and use it once again in slightly different way. I've got here in the table 3 columns with 3 measures, and 2 of them are like a little bit alike, like number of people and number of rows, and the third one is like from completely different story. That's the number of series. So I want to put some place in between them, some space, so that they wouldn't be like one row of everything. So what will I do? I will prepare a calculation that will help me with that, completely mysterious calculation. So I double click here to make an ad hoc calculation. I put the copied title in here, and now the magic happens. I will just use integer of what? Of an empty string. So double quotation marks inside of my integer. And what will that produce? Null value. And what I will have in front of that? Nothing. So I will produce just empty column with no header and no content inside. What can I do with that? I can drag it in between my columns, and now I have some pretty nice empty space in between. Okay, so another mysterious peel, and now let's do something, let's say, more concrete. You have already heard about all these arrows going down and up. Heidi has mentioned that. So I've got here a ready KPI, and my quick tip how to do these arrows going up and down in a quick way. Wherever I can do that in tooltip for it. Oh, I have switched off the tooltip. Okay, quick calculated field, Alt AC, Tore, that's for you. And I will quickly write a calculation, a calc, which will contain some text. What text will be that? A text with some funny icon. So I click Windows sign plus semicolon, and I get this, and I could put a dinosaur inside. And as you will see, I will talk a lot about dinosaurs, so these 2 dinosaurs will be pretty helpful. So that's the way in which you can put in a calculation. Where's my calc? The calc is here. So if I put it into text just for a moment, oh, it haven't appeared. Okay, where can I put it? I haven't trained the one, so I will put my calc into detail and add it to my title so that you can see that I have my dinosaurs in here, a calc, apply, okay, and I have a couple of dinosaurs in the title right now. So the shortcut is window sign and semicolon. And then I will go to my tip that I actually thought about here. By the way, instead of dinosaurs, you can also put arrows, but they are less funny. So what would I like to do here? Well, I've got a KPI, and when I get to the point during the training, people say, well, but we'd like to have the stuff down there in green or red. Could you do that? And the quick answer is, well, I could, but then we would have to write at least 2 calculations. Are you ready for that? And sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. So what can I do just to have a KPI that would be with colored change, year-over-year change, and not colored upper part, and without writing separate calculations? Well, I can use my friend tech calculation, which I have somewhere here, drag it twice to my columns. Okay, so that I have that in 2 parts. And now I will sort it a little bit. First, I will change everything to Gantt bar. Then I will go to my first tag. And in my first tag, I will get rid of the color of the Gantt bar. And I just want to leave here in text the part that is gonna be in black. So instead of my year-over-year difference, I will put just space. Okay. That's the first part. Then I go to the second shelf, and here I will go first to text and get rid of what is here to be in black. So I put space here and a space here as well. Great. Apply. Okay. And now I will go here to font and use match mark color. Great. And now when I add my count distinct series, the one with triangle, so quick year-over-year calculation, I add that to color and go for some editing with color. So I want that to be, it's for minus green. Okay, so reversed. I check if there is 0 in the center. There should be definitely 0 in the center. Okay, so if I have it right now like that, apply. Okay, I'll do my dual axis. And now I've got, without any calculations, the KPI that is with my year-over-year change here. The problem is only that I've got it in the very middle. So I would like to have and I will synchronize this. So I would like really to have it like on the side. What can I do? And that's the magic of my tag, this 0.00. I will go to the axis, go to custom, and as I have this 0.00, I can put here numbers that will be decimals. So minus 0.1 and 20.9, that was to be 9, okay. And now I've got it on my side. Great, I get rid of axes. Where's that? Show header. Okay, and I've got my ready KPI. If you want to make the line slightly bigger, you can always look for a calculation that would, that's gonna be Gantt. Okay, Gantt width. I put just here a tiny number, which appeared in the wrong window, which is just 0.02. And that's it. When I put into my size, okay, not the right one, so maybe here. should be better. It looks pretty dramatic, but when you put it on the dashboard, it will look like that. And I guess that's pretty nice. And just approaching slowly the end, I would like to show you a couple of tricks that are answer to what Tora said about our common love of keyboard shortcuts. Yes, I love them. A couple of you have heard the story, but not everybody. So my mother was computer sciences teacher. I spent lots of time not to learn anything from her, with one exception. She managed just with one thing. She taught me that if I want to be quick in anything, I have to use keyboard shortcuts. And that's how I fell in love with keyboard shortcuts. And well, I've got here a scatter plot, which shows the titles of films, the series, TV series that have anything in common with dinosaurs. Okay, dinosaurs, lots of dots here, and I want to be able to choose just a few of them. Normally, when I do that, and I start marking something with my keyboard, I start with a rectangle. That's a default. But what if I want to change the way of choosing my points to something else? Let's say circle. I can press S, and then it will change to circle. And then I can change to D, and it will allow me to choose a couple of random points. And then I can switch back to A, and it will be back rectangle. But it's not the matter of what the keyboard shortcut is, but how to memorize that. So A is for default. That's probably easy to memorize. Then we get to S for circle. And let's be honest. S sounds like circle, and if it weren't for French messing up with British history, it would be spelled with S for sure. And then how to memorize the D for the random, for the lasso? Well, keep your fingers crossed for me. That's actually the keyboard shortcut that will allow you to mark something that looks like that. Yeah, I have trained that, but it might not go perfect. But in a moment, you will see what I mean. And probably you will also memorize that if you want a random shape, then you should go for D. And I hope that's clear now. Okay. So just to sum up the keyboard shortcuts that I have used here. Oh, before I go to that, one more. I've got here these tooltips, and they annoy me as much as they only can. So I want to get rid of them quickly. What can I click? Alt, W, O, and I've got my tooltip. I get rid of that. I do not have the unclicking of that is just enough. The other part was my habit. Okay. And I should get rid of the tooltips. And now I would like to sum up all these with showing you my final keyboard shortcut and at the same time all the keyboard shortcut, and that's Alt VA Enter. And I will get now caption in which I have listed all of these. And if you want to read them once or twice again, no worries. I will have them in the dashboard that will come with the next slide. So I go to the dashboard, and I've got the same thing again. So couple of my keyboard shortcuts plus the scatter plot. And I mentioned that the scatter plot is dedicated to dinosaurs, but the problem is that you can hardly see it. So what have I done? Well, I have made a chart which I put into hidden container, and there are all the titles, so you can check that. Great. I'll hide that. And I even have here the question, but what are the films? What are these films? Well, and the answer is here. That's far, that's too distant. What can I do? Well, I have discovered that actually accidentally, I would never think that it works. But when I have this icon, this button for hidden containers, I can press Control C, Control V, and I will get the second copy of that. I can put the second copy here. And now that's just the question of formatting. So what I want to have, whenever I click here, I want to have question mark. So I go to edit button. I go to my item shown. I want to have a question mark, which I should have somewhere here. When item hidden, actually the same would be great. So I put question mark here, apply OK. And then I will go to my icon up there. When item is shown, I want actually to see my X. So I will put my X here, and I should have X somewhere here. I've seen it, okay. And then when my item is hidden, I do not want to see anything. So I put here just a blank icon, blank rectangle, which I have created in PowerPoint, nothing extraordinary. Okay, I click open, I click apply, I click OK. And now here I can see anything. When I click on my question mark to check what are these fields, I open the window, and then the question where to close the window is just where it's comfortable for my user. If he's Tableau user and he is used to this closing and opening in the same place, great. But if the person behaves like on the other websites, the person can close the window just clicking on my X. And that was actually my last tip. So thank you a lot, and I give voice back to Paweł and Veronika.
Thank you for such useful tips. And now it's time for voting. So over to you, Veronika.
If I could stop sharing, then perfect. So we have a lot to process, but I hope you have your favorite tips and that you can see my screen. So if you would like to, give feedback to our content contestants, you can either scan the QR code or just type the URL and share your favorite tips. I will do this promptly because I have a full list of what I really liked. A couple of them were really surprising. So take your time and just, try to describe the tip or tips you liked the most. You will have three options. Okay, so I can see that moving containers, map quiz, yeah, good for upcoming holidays. Number formatting with arrows or the dinosaurs. Yeah, character 2000, 2800. Definitely nice one. What else? Oh, the most popular is the character 2800. Maybe that will be easier. Dinosaurs, yes. Moving container, yes. One line, KPI one, yeah. The Agata's coloring, just a single line of KPI. That's two of them. Reference line. Yeah, so I see that, I mean, it's not like the one is the most favorite one. It's just the full variety, and that's amazing. So with that in mind, let's go to the grand finale and voting for. Oh, see, everyone's keep. Okay. Let's go to the voting, the grand finale of today's meeting, and you can pick the person who had the best, the most interesting tips.
Home turf, home turf.
It's hard to compete with the dinosaurs, to be fair.
Sorry, they are way too big.
Okay, 11%. Summing up, it's 15 people who voted. I guess maybe Heidi, Agata, and Tora haven't voted. I mean, you can vote for yourself if like, or the someone else.
As long as you don't see who we're voting for, then it's okay, right?
Of course. But it's, fully anonymous, so I was able to see your tone. Okay, I guess that not in Poland, exactly, Tora. So currently, Agata won the competition, and to be honest, the tips were very, very interesting from all of you guys. So that was unfair. And maybe we just favored our local Tableau store. So it's nothing personal. I don't know. Do you have any questions to our presenters? Because I tried to follow the chat, but I haven't seen anything. So if you have, some last minute question, you can just put them in chat, and yeah, definitely well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions. So congratulations to you, Agata, and thank you everyone for sharing with us the amazing tips and for participating in the meeting. And yeah, see you next time.
Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye.
bye.
Bye bye.